Jim?
Thank you. What a wonderful night, what a wonderful opportunity to talk to such passion. When I'm standing up here, I see how many people are actually here. It's just so exciting to have this many people all excited to make sure that we prevail and win this election cycle. I didn't even know about this big trip to Hawaii. That wasn't brought up to me. In fact, there's 110 state reps. I think I was 96 in the free food and booze. And the lobbyist told me recently that they were having a real problem because they were going broke with all the free food and booze buffets, so they had to install strip tax and speed bumps to slow the reps down, and I guess that finally did have some effect. But one of the main ways that you get paid, and I'm going to pass this around, I would say it is the main way you get paid in Lansing, is if you vote for crony capitalist bills. The vast majority of what I have seen in Lansing is if you build a regulatory moat around a particular business, that business is going to be very, very generous because it kicks off a mountain of money. So the Mackinac Center did how Michigan legislators voted on tax-paid business subsidies. These are the crony capitalism. It lists all the legislators who have been through the legislature since 2011, and there's 500 in here. The ones who went through their second term voting for no crony capitalism is 12 of the 500, and I was one of the 12 of the 500. I'll pass these around. Thank you, John. As Michonne pointed out, there's a real issue this year because in the 15th Senate District, ordinarily in a primary, there's about 12,000 Democrat votes. There is about 19 to 20,000 Republican votes. That's typical. In the last two elections, that was the approximate number. This year, the Democrats had over 600 more votes than the Republicans. So you can see this astronomical wave that occurred here in Oakland County. And our polling, unfortunately, is showing this race to be very close. So I am going to need a lot of help. You've heard about Lena's opponent. This opponent I have is very similar, very much against Second Amendment. I mean, this woman, if she could ban guns entirely, she would. Very much an extremist abortionist. She said on one of her Facebook posts that Donald Trump was so outrageous with MS-13. These are human beings that we're talking about here. These are the worst torturing gang of criminals probably on the entire earth. She was posting on that she hates white males, and white males, she's got little children and would talk this way. She's just off the charts. She wants a single payer for the entire state of Michigan, paid for by the taxpayers. That would bankrupt the state of Michigan, wreck our entire healthcare system. And for what I would bring to this job if I am elected is my record, which I would continue. And the first thing I did when I was elected to the county commission, I ran for office, and I said, this is what I will do, this is what I'm going to do when I was campaigning. When I got into the office, the very first thing I did was put in a bill to require the E-Verify system be used by the county. It caused a big explosion, which I didn't anticipate. We had about a 15% unemployment rate, which that's the official rate. Unofficially, the real number was about 25%. So we had 25% of our people not working. All the golf courses, the airport, many of the construction projects were all done by illegal workers. So over here we have all these illegal workers employed with taxpayer dollars. We have 25% of our people unemployed. I put in the bill. I had one commissioner support me. So we brought in all of these activists, a lot of people here. I see some faces that were here back at that point. And so we had 66 people the first meeting. We had 140 the second meeting. And they were getting up in front of the commissioners and talking at the public comment. They were snickering. The commissioners were snickering and laughing and rolling their eyes. And they kept voting not to vote. So I told the leadership at the next meeting, which was going to be the night meeting, we will have 500 people at that meeting. It was going to be a night meeting, and there was going to be 500 people. And I said, we're going to put a camera all lined up on every single commissioner's face. So if they want to snicker and they want to laugh, that's fine, but they're going to all be on video on Facebook. And they just went nuts. You cannot do this to your colleagues. These are your colleagues. I say, yeah, they're my colleagues, and just have them do the right thing and vote this thing through. And they were being attacked everywhere they went. Their fundraisers, finally the leadership called and said, call the dogs off. We're going to vote it through, and they did. It went through unanimous. Since 2009, not a single illegal worker is employed with taxpayer dollars in Oakland County. There's another bill that I was kind of amused with. Most people don't know that I call it the Myers bill. And back in, I think it was 82, the delivery companies for beer and wine didn't want to make a lot of stops. So they got a law passed that you could only get a beer delivery if you had 250,000 in inventory in your gas station. Now this is back in 1982. Imagine that, 250,000 for a little party store owner all over the state, little rural area. And so we hired inspectors to come in. Well, there's 28 bags of chips, we got 43 Coke, but they inventory the whole thing to make sure they had 250,000, simply to limit the number of beer stops. So then fast forward to today, what most of the companies were doing, they bought 250,000 in stamps and put them in a safe. So the inspector would have the safe open, sitting there counting all the stamps. Complete, utter waste. So a reform came about. Here's the reform. Myers did not want to have competition. So they said, our store is going to account for the 250,000. Anywhere the stores are. So they can be 5 miles away, and it's going to count for the store. Well, we said, well, let's do better than that. Let's wipe out the 250. No. Let's reduce it to 50. No. So today, still, we have 250,000 for every little party store owner, but if you're Kroger's, if you're any of the big operators, your store counts for the 250, and it just wipes these little guys out. That, unfortunately, passed. It's the law of the land. I don't want to get into too many of the bills where we don't have a lot of time here, but I've been voted in just about every one of the rankings that rank the legislators' votes across the state of Michigan. There's about 7 of them. They do it every year. I'm always in the top tier of that ranking. My first 2 years in the top 7, I was the only one in the top 3 of every single one of those. So if you get me, this is the kind of person that you will get in office. Like Matt said, I will be a proxy. I will vote the way I told you I will vote, the way I've voted since the county commission, the state representative, but I'm going to need help. Each one of you have on your table there an envelope. If you can not attend the fundraiser, or even if you can attend the fundraiser, if you can make a donation and pop that in the mail. I also have on the table my fundraiser on the 17th that is coming up. I really need a lot of help. I also need help at the door. So if you can possibly help with hitting some doors, maybe your precinct. This area is the 15th Senate District. It's Novi, Lyon, South Lyon, Milford, White Lake, Commerce, West Bloomfield, Wixom, Walled Lake, Orchard Lake, Northville. So if you live in those and you have a precinct, I really would appreciate if you would help hit that precinct. And if you don't, we still need help just about everywhere in the district. So with that, thank you so much for coming tonight. Thank you so much, Lakes Area Tea Party, for putting this together, and would appreciate your help.